The US and Venezuela, the United States has released an ally of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in exchange for 10 American detainees and a fugitive dubbed Fat Leonard. The deal was brokered by the Gulf state of Qatar. Well, Venezuela has handed over a fugitive named Leonard Francis, the man at the centre of the US Navy's biggest ever corruption scandal. Leonard Francis, also known as Fat Leonard, is a Malaysian defence contractor. He was behind the biggest bribery scandal involving dozens of US Navy officers. Francis owned and operated his family's ship servicing business, Singapore-based Glenn Defence Marine Asia Limited, or GDMA. GDMA supplied food, water and fuel to US Navy vessels. Leonard was a key contact for many US Navy ships at ports across Asia for more than 2 decades. During that time, he wooed naval officers with some $500,000 gifts, which included cash, prostitutes and luxury travel from Thailand to the Philippines. In exchange, the officers concealed the scheme in which Francis would overcharge for supplying ships or charge for fake services at ports he controlled in Southeast Asia. The officers passed him classified information and even went so far as redirecting military vessels to ports that were lucrative for his Singapore-based ship servicing company. US President Joe Biden made the decision to free Alex Saab, the one-time confidant of socialist leader Maduro, who was the United States accuses of laundering money for Caracas. Alex Saab is a close ally of Maduro and was taken into custody in 2020 when his private jet touched down in Cape Verde for a refuel. The entrepreneur has been at the centre of accusations involving kickbacks, massive corruption and hoarding black money using a government corruption scheme. According to the US Justice Department, Saab and his associates transferred more than $350 million to foreign accounts. Saab built prosperous businesses in Colombia's textile industry. In his early career, he collaborated with Alvaro Pulido, a drug trafficking Colombian billionaire who invited him to Venezuela for business endeavours. Maduro, on the other hand, celebrated the return of Alex Saab as a triumph for truth. Saab thanked the Venezuelan leader and said that today the miracle of freedom, the miracle of justice, has become a reality. Asked about a deal to release an ally of President Nicolas Maduro in exchange for prisoners in Venezuela, this is what President Biden said.
It's okay because they're freeing American people who are held illegally, and we've made a deal with Venezuela at the whole free election. So far, they've maintained their requirements, and that's it.
The White House named 4 of the freed Americans as Joseph Cristela, Evan Hernandez, Gerald Kennymore and Savoy Wright. Also among the freed were former US soldiers Luke Alexander Denman and Aaron Berry, who were serving 20-year sentences for a botched arms invasion into Venezuela in 2020. The detainees were welcomed by US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the US Security Advisor Jake Sullivan.
Fourth. Today we celebrate our independence.
Washington has been easing the pressure on the leftist Caracas government while it pushes for progress on democracy, agreeing in October to scale back oil and gas sanctions. The deal represents the Biden administration's boldest move yet to improve relations with the major oil-producing nation and extract concessions from the self-proclaimed socialist leader Maduro. Well, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani sent us this report.
According to reports, U.S. officials said that Qatari officials helped and played a role in facilitating the prisoner swap between the United States and Venezuela, which took months to complete. Venezuela's Maduro regime presents a vexing geopolitical challenge in America's backyard. First of all, because it is the source of the largest migrant crisis in the Western Hemisphere, but also because of its close relations with Iran and Russia. During the Trump administration, the U.S. indicted Maduro and other high-ranking Venezuelan officials on charges of crimes related to narco-terrorism, money laundering, as well as drug trafficking. In October, Venezuela agreed to open its 2024 presidential elections to opposition candidates, a step the U.S. welcomed. The first step in that deal was to be completed by November 30th. To encourage further progress, the United States lifted some sanctions against Venezuela, however, warned that if November 30th comes and goes and Venezuela doesn't stand up to its side of the deal, then those sanctions would be reimposed on the country. Well, that did happen. The deadline came and went. Venezuela did not adhere to its promises, but the United States so far has not reimposed those sanctions. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.